I am Megan and welcome to Battle Royale with Cheese, the website you can get all of your TV and film news, reviews and trailers. Just before we start this review, I just want to say if you can hear a weird buzzing or wheezing sound, I apologise, my radiator has just switched on, so that's probably what the noise is going to be. I do apologise in advance, but it is the first week of December and I thought it would be fun to do mostly Christmas themed films. Not necessarily ones that are family filled and joy filled, which brings us on to our first review of December. TheMeanOne is a horror parody based on The Grinch and follows Cindy as she returns to her hometown after not being there for years, only to discover that the monster that killed her mother when she was a child is still very much around and still hates Christmas. So yeah, this is sort of in the trend and in the subgenre of like classics or childhood films being turned into horror films. We've got it with Winnie the Pooh, we've got it with the upcoming Pinocchio film, Peter Pan. I did a trailer talk on The Little Mermaid, not the Disney film, the horror film. So these are very much a thing. And I'm sure there's a lot more examples that I haven't mentioned that do exist. There's a lot of Steamboat Willie films that are about to come out as well, which are horror films. So this is very much a thing that exists. But this one caught me interest because I feel like some of these films actually can lend themselves to a horror version. So The Little Mermaid and Peter Pan are examples of ones that actually could easily fit within the horror genre. And weirdly, I feel like this could sort of be the same in a very strange way. I also was interested in this one because The Grinch is being played by David Howard Thornton of Terrifier fame. He plays Art the Clown. So I thought, okay, I really like, while I am not a big fan of those films, I actually really like his mime work in those films, so it caught my interest. So is this as good or terrible as the other parody films? No, this isn't good, but I definitely enjoyed it. I think when you approach these kind of films, I definitely go in with very low expectations. I know that they're not going to be high quality films. I know they're probably going to have some bad acting in it. But actually, the production quality for the first half of the film, I thought was surprisingly good. The camera shots are really nice. The way that it's been laid out is really good. I really like that every now and again there's a Dr. Seuss style narrator narrating Cindy's feelings throughout the film. That I really, really liked. For that part and for that aspect, they managed to keep it within the Dr. Seuss like aesthetic, which I appreciated and I really, really liked. And yeah, again, a lot of the camera shots, and again, for the first half, we'll get to that, but yeah, I was like, okay, I actually quite like the production quality that's going on here. The Grinch makeup, I think, is definitely the highlight of the film. The creature in the film looks fantastic. The makeup is really, really well done. And again, David Howard Thornton is really, really good. He brings his Art the Clownness mixed in with Jim Carrey live action Grinch behaviour to this role. And it works really, really well. And fits in great, actually. I really, really enjoyed that aspect of it. And he was definitely the highlight of the film. I also like the sort of basic concept of the film. So it starts off with what we know, where it's like, oh, Cindy caught the Grinch as he was trying to steal the Christmas tree. And then the narrator goes, well, that's what you think happened. What actually happened was the Grinch was the one that killed Cindy's mum. Cindy had to get rid of the monster for that year, and what the town has now done is they've essentially cancelled Christmas. They don't have any fairy lights, they don't, Christmas lights or carols or anything like that anymore because of the fear that those events caused. And even when she comes back, a lot of people are trying to hush her, trying to keep her away from things, trying to essentially ignore what happened. And in that, I really liked that idea. I thought it was a really interesting aspect to bring into the plot. So this was all the first half of the film. This is all the first half of the film, and the second half is where it kind of went a bit downhill. And even, to be honest, during the first half there were things that I had problems with. So my problems were, firstly, the town has been renamed to Newville instead of Whoville, because again they're trying to eradicate what happened, which I thought was really interesting. What I did find a bit annoying, and I felt like could have actually been done better, was how the town looked. It definitely could have had that more Whoville aesthetic that was still left behind, but without all the lights and, you know, the bright colours and stuff. Although, at the same time, this film is very, very grey. This film is very, very grey for the first half. And then, yeah, I'll get to that in a minute. But yeah, this film is very, very grey, which could symbolise the fact that actually, without Christmas and the preparations for it, the town has essentially died. But for me, while I like that idea, I was like, come on, we just need a little bit of colour, just somewhere. But yeah, I feel like even without the colour, I feel like the designs of the houses and everything could have screamed Whoville a lot more. A lot of this just looked like, oh, it's just any old American town with, oh, you got the Grinch's mountain home in the background. Like his cave felt like, and the mountains felt like, the only Whoville thing about this film. So I feel like that could have been done a bit better. The sound is all over the place. That's my other problem. The sound mix is all over the place. I was constantly turning the volume up and then down and then up. It's all over the place. For some reason, there's like a piano spike sound at random moments, even if there's not a jump scare or scare or anything. It just randomly happens. Even if someone just walks into the frame to introduce themselves, you'll suddenly get dun dun. It's just like, why is this happening? And I get as well that this is a horror comedy, and to be fair, a couple of moments did make me actually legitimately laugh. And again, I appreciate as well as the Dr. Seuss style narrator, Cindy references a couple of lines from the original book, which I liked. The town drunk also turns out to be called Dr. Seuss, which I kind of rolled my eyes at, but I was like, I feel like the film knows what it's going for. It knows what it's doing. And in that, it felt very unapologetic. And I kind of appreciated that. So there were a few moments that actually did make me actually laugh. So I don't know if the piano, like the random piano spikes, were intentional or not. But it did sort of confuse me quite a lot. So yeah, the film is very, very grey. And then the second half, for some reason, the contrast levels get turned up to a max. Like once the police officer and Cindy go to the Grinch's home, for some reason the film goes very, very blue. To the point where there's some parts where actually it hurt my eyes a bit to look at. It turns into a very ugly film by the second half, and I don't mean as in, oh, the blood and gore and stuff, which, if you're going to use Art the Clown's actor, at least show us a bit of the gore. There was a few times a couple of times where they did show us the effects, and from what I could see, they were pretty good, but the camera did cut away from them quite quickly. But going back to my point, like, the film got very ugly in terms of visually, like its visual quality. It felt very, very sloppy by the second half, and the contrast levels was just turned up way too much to the point of, yeah, it just hurt my eyes to look at. It wasn't a very nice film to look at by the end. But yeah, TheMeanOne, would I recommend it? I would say, in terms of concept, it's definitely one of the better ones out of all of these films that have been turned into horror parodies and stuff. But, yeah, I guess if you're into that subgenre, I'd say check it out. I definitely think the highlight of the film is David Howard Thornton. He is giving it his all, and he is fantastic in this, but he's definitely the highlight. The other actors do a good job at it in the first half, but like I said, the second half is where everything kind of falls apart. The ending I did like because it goes back to the original story of the Grinch, but in a more realistic way, and I'm not going to say anything else. But I thought that was really interesting, and yeah, on that point, I liked that the film did reference the Grinch a few times, either with quotes or visuals, or even with, like, you know, character names and the narrator coming in occasionally. I really, really liked that. But yeah, interesting way to start off the month, I guess. But I'll do a couple more silly sort of Christmas films as well this month, so yeah. And then obviously Sonic the Hedgehog 3 we've got coming out this month too. I'll definitely do a video review on that. That might be a spoiler one, I'm not sure yet. I'll have to wait and see. But I think the UK is getting that after America. So yeah, my review on that might be a bit later than expected. But yeah, this was my thoughts on TheMeanOne. Interesting way to start off the month. But I was Megan. This is Battle Royale with Cheese. See you soon.